I was curious about for example, what is the Regen tribe's business plan? Because you don't have also any land. So
Mhm.
like the most of the steps, especially the beginning, is more about the neighborhood, like sizes, people, and this kind of stuff. So I was wondering if there is your business plan, for example, that I can, like look for it and have some inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to share right now, and also if you want more information, I can send you some documentation on that. So our business model is not creating one regenerative neighborhood. We're supporting different projects around the world to do that, and so our primary business model is based on real estate. So the projects that are selling land or selling property, we kind of operate as a middleman between these people and potential community members, um, and then getting a commission from that sale, and also the agency work. So when it comes to us purchasing land or getting land somewhere, it's more equity based. So let's say we support a project in person and online, and we form some kind of collaboration. We would choose to get equity in the project in the form of a piece of land, for example, rather than get a pay for that consultancy. So these are like two business models: the real estate and the agency, consulting agency. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, because the process that we're going through is a little bit more directed to one vision holder that is focused on their piece of land. This is not our main focus. We're high level supporting and yeah, helping projects like that in different places. So we had a couple of opportunities to start a land project, and it always came with a lot of conversations of like, do we want to be doing that right now? It takes a lot of bandwidth and a lot of time to manage a land project, and so and you lose perspective on the way. So we decided to support projects around the world, rather than focus on one particular one. But having land projects in different places is definitely part of the plan. Anything you want to add, Oscar, on that topic?
Yeah, I think right with like any business, there's like a right now, how do we start and grow? And then there's a near future where what are we working towards? And then there's like a long term, when everything goes planned well and we have the support we need, where could we see ourselves building towards? And Sonia just shared like a good perspective on like the right now. We're finding people who are already doing projects and supporting them. To do that effectively, we've done a lot of research in the last 2 years, exploring projects, being good about putting together this guide, starting with our first version of the Tribes platform to help with the networking piece in a more automated way. The next step is definitely kind of like picking the projects that we have connected the most with, right? In this journey, we're also all looking for what is the work we want to be doing versus what is the work we have to do. And so we definitely have been doing work. We had to do like the research and organizing documentation, and we are preparing for what is the work we want to do, which for me at least is what is a kind of community I would like to live in, and putting effort and energy into helping that community succeed.
Rather than building it from scratch.
Right. This is like one of the first pieces of advice that we give vision holders when they're starting off on their journey is, okay, you want to buy land and build a place. Awesome initiative. Have you researched other projects that align with many of the principles and values that you guys and goals that you have, to see if it's a smart idea to potentially work with someone else and collaborate. Because what we notice as a trend is there are a lot of projects that start, but very few that actually make it to the finish line of being like a successful land development where many people are living. And then one step further is that all the people living there actually have a strong sense of community. That's the next layer on top of that. Right? In the worst case, projects start building and they never get enough people to move in, and the project ends up falling apart. They sell the land to an eco village or to a retreat center or whatever. In the next case, people actually get people to move in, but it only becomes a development. There's just people living on a piece of land together and they kind of know each other, but it's still lacking this like really desired sense of community, right? Maybe they didn't raise enough money to build a big community house or to build the shared amenities that they were hoping to build in their initial plan. This is where we are finding a lot of projects in the moment that they're almost there, but not exactly all the way there. And then there's a few projects that stand out, you know, like Timera in Portugal. Like the one in India. What's this one in India?
Where
No.
Oroville.
Oroville, right?
Damampur.
Like a
Dama-
Dancing Rabbit in
Damampur
the
in Italy.
US.
Twin Oaks.
There's a great one in Argentina as well called Ayampe. There's a few.
Damanhur.
Say it again.
Damanhur in Italy.
Yeah.
Damanhur, yeah, right, old school, right? And so these are they made it through this like hump, and they've got people living there, and they've also implemented a community culture, right? We can say these are the three phases as you go through the gauntlet of creating a community. So our like right now plan, right, was to do the research. Our next steps is to work with projects that we align with. And the business model for us, like Sonia said, right, is through consulting fees, through commission on supporting projects find the right buyers and sell some real estate. And in the long run for us, we're very open in the model of getting paid with what these projects have in abundance. Most of the time, they don't have a lot of just free money sitting around to like invest into things. But what they do have is a lot of land and a lot of opportunity for other individuals that are interested in partnering and working together with them to share some of that land in a partnership and do collective building, which is we noticed this trend early on, which is why when we start our communication with the vision holder, we remind them to, hey, have you looked for other projects that you are aligning with that you could potentially work with first? Maybe not forever, maybe just work with them for a while, make some lessons, see how like you would do things, and then maybe branch off and start your own project at some point.
And for me, a big piece of advice that I'm realizing more and more for myself, and I would like for you guys to also remember that, is starting with a digital community first. I see that very clearly here, and on example of different communities that didn't do that and didn't succeed because it's really challenging to manage all of the moving pieces as a vision holder when you don't have a big team, and then also bring people in when all of these things are moving, right? And this is usually the moment where these projects fail, because there's not enough revenue coming into the space. There's not enough critical mass to keep the project rolling. And so starting with a digital community first, where you align on most of the things, align on the values, align on the intention, probably align on the governance and all of the systems really that we discuss and we're going to be discussing today. And then with the actually aligned humans starting the land project, I think this is the way to go, a way to get the critical mass and also get more alignment before, because there's also a tendency for people to romanticize community living and thinking like, oh, that's gonna be great, I'm gonna move in with these people and we're gonna I'm gonna be living with friends and it's all gonna be a fairy tale, and usually it's not. And so it's a cold shower moment that could be done before, and you can already have the fallout of the people that weren't aligned, and only stay with the ones that are with really low maintenance, right? Like managing digital space requires a good tool and time, versus a physical location requires all of the things: your physical energy, your emotional, mental energy, time, extend. So I would say that this is a big advice, and this is how I would start, and then evolve from that. And definitely what Oscar mentioned, developing a local network of people that are either creating lab projects or are service providers, just local communities, people that have been in the area or maybe are seeking this type of living. So yeah, today, I don't know if you caught that, Michael, I was sharing with Vivi and Jam that we're not going to be going through a mural anymore. This is our last call. So we're going to be doing a review of the agent workbook. So we're going to be going through all of the questions that were mentioned, which are the reflection of the mural exercises that we were doing.
Yeah, we're gonna go through the agent workbook. I'm adding as we go section by section the big takeaways from each of the Miro like boards. I'm gonna be putting them into one list, so we have kind of like a master list of like the big takeaways that we've remembered, that we've encountered throughout the journey, kind of to give you guys this like short cheat sheet of like key points throughout the journey. So as we go section by section, the goal today is for you guys to go through the workbook. We're gonna just go question by question. If there's any question that feels like, I could use a little more clarity on that, right? There's 65 questions in the workbook. So we'll like leave like about a minute for each question to like read it. If anyone has any questions, I invite you guys to add at least one word or one sentence to your workbooks for like your dream community or a community that you have in mind. And this will kind of help you realize, maybe I don't know this question so much. Some of them we're going to blow right through them, right? They're like location and things like this. Those aren't so key. But the ones where you have to figure some stuff out, we'll have kind of this like back and forth session today where we can feel this out and go through it. Later on, when you guys are ready with your workbook, we would like to go through them with you. So like we'll do one-on-ones where we will go through your workbook with you. We can go deeper into any questions that you might have. This is our second to last week here at Vitalia. We'll be heading back to Miami after, and then to Mexico on the 12th. So in that time, you guys will have a few days, a few weeks even to work on your workbook. Set up your dream community, you guys. Until you guys go through this book, Mike, I see you've put a lot of effort into a lot of the questions in yours. Thank you for doing that. You guys have like peppered in a few things into yours. So at the very least, right, you don't have to have full answers, but have like, it's your dream board. Make your dream board for your dream community. How you envision it, how you see it. This will help you understand, I don't really understand this question, or I have some more like clarifying questions that could help me understand this better and then present it to a vision holder better. So today we'll go through that together lightly. We'll be here on the call with you guys. Make sure you annotate any questions. And then you have at least one word or like a message to yourself so you can ask us those questions on the one-on-ones. And these one-on-ones will essentially be your like kind of final exam in a way you can consider it, where we like go through your understanding, we review your answers for your community and ask you like 1 or 2 questions on them to understand best where you guys are on your processing of these questions and on your ability to guide a vision holder through this in this initial kind of thing. Remember, we're just asking questions here. Doesn't really require knowledge or memorization of anything. Instead, that you know where to go in the guide to check up on that and get some like extra questions. And so that's kind of what our one-on-ones will be like. Okay, sweet. So I have the Miro board open. I'm just going to be jotting down any extra things. Maybe let's open the agent workbook.
Yep.
Let's share that screen.
Should we be in our personal workbook for this
Yeah,
exercise,
yeah.
or
Yeah, you guys open your personal workbooks.
Yeah, it's matching that format plus the things that you added. I know Kelsey was adding stuff to her workbook as well. I saw you, Michael.
Yeah, open your
yeah,
workbook.
I'm hoping to build a whole vision document.
Sweet.
Yeah, I saw and there was a lot of notes and for the vision document. I really enjoyed that. Oh, share screen. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah, so we're just gonna go question by question. Again, there's 65 questions. We're gonna go through a few of them again or fast. So it's just like a rough understanding. If anyone, we can see you guys on the screen. If anyone is feeling a little like, oh, can I ask another question about this? Raise your hand, click on the little thing, or just, go ahead and just popcorn style. Oh, I could use a little more clarification on this. We can get through them quick, and then we can chat a little bit more about any other topics. As we go through them, I'll definitely be adding some things here to this Miro, and I'll add this at the bottom of the agent portal document as like a reference to these main points that we can remember.
Right. So once again, the Asian workbook is really your bread and butter with the Community Alchemy guide being the place to find more specific resources about certain fields. The workbook is the skeleton of a conversation with a vision holder that you're going to be having. So you're not required to remember all of these things. You just go section by section, and if you need a little bit more support, I would recommend before each session with the vision holder going through the alchemy guide to have a little bit more understanding of the topic and to guide the questions in a way that's a little bit more elaborate than just a dry question like that. But this is really the most important part. So the Miro boards were reflecting all of these questions in an interactive way. We're doing different exercises. You're probably not going to be doing that with the vision holder. Feel free to fork some of the exercises that were done during our sessions on the Miro. At the same time, this is really what you're going through. So you're having a conversation and listing all these things. And so we're going to be going through that process with the Tribes platform as well. As you chose your neighborhood that you would like to see there, we're going to be onboarding neighborhoods. They have a very similar structure to these questions. So that's really all you need to remember as important, the agent workbook. Okay, so let's...
So like for reference, our time here that we've been in Honduras are like after like documentation will be us going through this workbook and filling in the sections that we see a clear direction on for this project here called Vitalia, that is starting the process of designing their long-term community, right? Filling in what they know for sure, filling in where they feel they have a good understanding of what direction they want to go in. And if they don't have a direction on anything yet, putting those questions and underlining them and saying, okay, these are important things that need to be thought of, that you will need to share when really working to convince humans around the world that, oh, that's a project that I could pick up where I'm at and move there to be a part of and to live in and to actually potentially create a future home for myself there. So this is kind of our template that we are trying to standardize, right? And again, every community is different and unique, but these questions are kind of a well-rounded approach to a starting point of what are the things you need to think about. And that's why we use it kind of as the backbone for the start process with all of these projects.
So you either support a vision holder with categorizing and documenting all of these things, or you see a gap and then you fill them in with either your knowledge, our knowledge, or a verified service provider that can serve them a little bit more of a professional support in a certain field, which will definitely happen. We use service providers and topics that need a little bit more more structured, like legal topics. We discussed that as a big one. Don't be scared of not knowing certain things. This is actually a big value to be able to identify that, and don't give blind advice to vision holders. Rather connect them with somebody that will know a little bit better.
I love hearing about the process you've been going through with Vitalia, go with the alchemy guide and that. I'm curious. I know we want to get through this ourselves, but I'm curious, where did you find that they had like already knowledge and an idea of what they had, so it's quick to fill out those sections, and where was it that you needed to work with them a little more to flesh out and fill out some of those sections?
Yeah, they definitely had their business people, so they had a good idea about the business models, a really strong intention, mission statement. The biotech focus and mission statement is making dev optional, and you can feel it very strongly between the community members and the vision holders that this is really the main pillar of the community that is reflected in the business models. The legal structure is really good as well, because they were smart enough to partner with a project that is already covering these fields. They partner with Prospera, which they serve this first layer infrastructure of legal and some governance. So I would say these topics are pretty well covered, that we didn't really need to dive in that deep. We did dive in, but not with a lot of our professional support. It was just like categorizing these things. So that was really good. And on the other hand, I think the community members and like the community management part is something that is in the works, and will receive more attention with our support.
Can you share the mind map, the simple one with the 3 circles and the city in the middle? So this is kind of how this evolution has been going for us, right? A lot of the projects we've met so far had land already and had structures and had a reasonable idea of that. In this iteration, we're realizing that this is a project that has a digital community of individuals, and they've been able to accelerate their journey because they partnered with a physical location that already had some infrastructure. So yeah, let's share this one.
And I'm gonna just like
You just went and share it first, okay? All right, so okay. So this is kind of are you sharing the screen?
Yeah, do you guys see the
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so yeah, this is kind of like the simplified version, and then we'll show you what we've been working on in the second level with them. So these projects have 3 main components, right? They have the mission, which is like in the term of an intentional community. What is the intention of this mission, right? With this more like business demographic that we're working with now, it's more like, what is the mission of your city? Here, it's to advance longevity, technology, biomedicine, things that help manage the aging process for humans. That's their big mission. That's their big intention. The next piece, once you understand what your intention is, why you're doing this, you go to the how are we going to do it and who is involved. And this is the culture of the community. How do we all live together and flourish together, communicate, all of these pieces, right? It's probably like sections in the alchemy guide. We'll go through them. And then as you've discussed why you're doing what you're doing, how and who will be doing this stuff, we discussed the what, right? Like, what is it? The physical infrastructure. What will we be building? What will we be putting finances and organization and project management into? And this is where we start working on the infrastructure bubble, right? Like, what are the actual buildings? And all of these 3 things together in the middle create the city or the community that is being built in this space. This is a simplified model. Can you open the now one we've like developed a little more for them?
in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, the unique thing in this space is like, it's a really new space, right? Traditionally, it's been governments that create cities. And it happens over hundreds and hundreds of years, and over time you get a city. And now we're in a place where with really radical entrepreneurs and people who are good at receiving and landing finance and investment and growing a community of individuals at a digital level, which happens much faster than at a physical level, all of these things start happening at the same time and can all come together really beautifully. And this is really creating the niche of what Regen Tribe, and now our kind of like new branch of Regen Tribe, which is called Startup City Group, is focusing on. Helping land all of these ideologies and plans into the physical creation of the city. So this, in this diagram, as you can see, we have our 3 bubbles, same as the previous diagram. We've moved mission to the top in this one. So like, this is the mission bubble here at Vitalia, right? The core team, strategy, operations, marketing, and all of the things that the core mission will need. Things like product, which is like the software that will help run the community as a smart community, booking and giving people the information they need, obviously finance, communications, and this already is starting to grow beyond just their main focus, which is biotech stuff. So it's already going out into physical infrastructure and the humans. So this is where we kind of came up with this clear Venn diagram that it's the mission bubble on the top, the community and culture here on the bottom left. This is the circle here, and then the infrastructure piece here on the bottom right. Our role is to help be aware of these moving pieces with these teams and to see where there's overlap. Right, like during this experience, when it was just this core mission of the pop-up city, there was the builder's experience for this pop-up city and the community management of these people that are here and the events. So this obviously starts bleeding now into this bubble here, which is the community and culture core, which in a proper organization, you can imagine this as like the 3 departments of a company. The mission-driven department, the human department, and the infrastructure and building department. So these bubbles are starting to like transition down into here as this team will get more established with people and the roles defined, like what are their responsibilities. It was a really wonderful experience in this like startup style community where it was a core team of about 8 people and everybody was picking up tasks that needed to be picked up as it was like moving really quickly. It was like definitely startup style, you know, like everyone's wearing the leadership hat, everyone is picking up tasks. And over the last few weeks, it's become more clear where people gravitate towards. So this org chart, we always make a joke that the first step is to create an org chart, is to identify what are those important things that we keep seeing over and over again, and who is starting to own those responsibilities. Right, our bread and butter is here in the community and culture core, which is like herding the cats. How do we get everyone to like really co-live well, to enjoy this experience as all of the big players in this space that are stepping in have clearly identified that creating a human-centric city is key. To create a human-centric city, you need to understand what the individuals in the community are looking for and are essentially drawn to, and helping design and develop that, right? Community development is a word we've been using a lot. And from those 2 things, obviously the infrastructure will reflect. If they're wanting more fitness stuff, there better be a lot of gyms and physical activity things. If it's an art community, you're gonna for sure need an art studio, an art gallery, and things like this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here you guys are looking at like how this process rolls out with different projects, right? Specifically with the project we're working on now. We'll be doing a very similar thing in Tulum with the project there. Like, what are the areas of focus here at this community? what are the responsibilities in those sectors and those departments, and who will be owning these responsibilities to make sure we all have accountability for each other and that we all get to do the things that we love and have skills at while making this beautiful puzzle together of community.
Right, so all of these circles really dance with each other, encouraging the participatory engagement model for community members. So it's not only creating the experience for them so they can co-live well, it's also the recruitment of the initial community members to step into leadership and actually lead a business model or be engaged with the organization of the city, of the community. I think that's a really important part that we're missing out on in most of the nowadays structures in the cities, even in the smaller ones. We want to encourage more horizontal model of participation and building structure both for the physical and the human infrastructure. So anybody that comes into the community and culture space is also very invited to participate in all of the other areas of the community and build it with the core team and the vision holders, which even in small projects, small eco-villages is overlooked. You have a very clear distinction between the bubble of vision holders and the people that are creating the structure, and then the people that are consuming the structure. And so definitely actively working on shifting that, because this really enables people to be happy and purposeful and the place that they're living in, right? Like, for example, you, Michael, coming into the space rather than just live in it, you probably would like to host your own activations with your partner and build a business that's empowering what you do and who you are. And so shaping a model in that way is really, really important. And we see that here as well, that people really want to step into leadership. So serving them that type of support and building structures that help that are really important.
Yeah, like one of the big tips I just added on this list is like creating a very functional onboarding process, right? This is, I think, chapter 3 in the Alchemy Guide, where it's making sure you support individuals who arrive with high energy, like new relationship energy, to wanting to get involved so that they have the information they need and the point of contact. So when they want to create something, they know who to ask a question to. They have a lot of the information already in some kind of manual or some kind of at least bullet list of how things work, so that they can very easily integrate into everyone doing something already. They don't feel like an outsider. This is one thing we got some feedback about here that could have been a little more structured, was supporting the individuals arriving with high energy to create things. Okay, so let's start going through the questions in the agent workbook.
Okay, we're back, you guys. We're back in the workbook.
Okay, so yeah, we always start, right? Section 0 is like the introductory questions, right? The first question we want to ask a neighborhood vision holder is, okay, are you looking to create a project where people live permanently and they can buy land? Or are you looking to create a place where you build things out and people only come for short-term stays and more of like an extended eco hotel or a shorter term community? Is this differentiation clear for everybody? It's a really important one because it really defines both the business models and also the culture and the processes that will happen at this community.
Yeah, let's definitely add it to the tips that we encourage to be both the regenerative neighborhood experience and a regenerative neighborhood. So it really reflects the business models and the demographic, right, of people that are calling the place their home, live there permanently, and probably have a really good understanding of how the place functions, both on the operational level and the human level. And then you have the people that come for a shorter period of time that bring in fresh energy, also bring in more revenue, power up the hospitality business, and you don't get stagnant in your community.
Yeah, right. Both generating revenue from people buying land and joining your community for a long term, as well as having spaces that offer short-term accommodation for people interested in learning about your community and maybe eventually buying land in your community. It's a big step from seeing a project online or going and visiting for a few days to committing to buying, you know, $100,000 piece of land and investing another, you know, lump of money towards building on it. Giving people a kind of like test it before you buy it model is really key.
I see another possible model that is forming that never existed before. And that is to join, I guess, join a network city, a forming network city as a new node in an existing decentral city.
Yeah, yeah.
And be an offshoot, play as an offshoot of an existing network.
Yeah, this model is becoming more and more popular and like available as it's been defined now by like this book, The Network State, where people share an idea online, right? And that's like the central core of the community. And then people opt in to saying, okay, we align with those values and principles. We have our own place and we want to integrate to this network of individuals and properties around the world. And this is the start, right? Like that in the long run could become something like, okay, there's 50 properties around the world that equal this amount of land. And at these properties, there's this many people that make this much income. And we will, right? The concept of the network state is that at some point, these organizations, these land projects, although separate around the world, like little islands, can claim that they are a nation state, a network state rather, and be ideally recognized by politicians as, okay, we understand and we grant you guys some kind of acknowledgement as your own network state, as your own like recognized somewhat country, you can consider it. And so this is like a far step ahead, right? You can imagine that people with countries, if you can consider countries to be a business, this is like opening the market to smaller businesses joining the pool. So it's definitely a little bit of a controversial topic, right? In a lot of places, they don't even want to go with that word network state yet because it makes countries feel like a little bit like, oh my God, like people are starting their own country and they're pulling out of our country. So
I definitely, and I see the network state part. That's kind of futuristic in a way.
Yeah, totally.
But if we focus on tapping into an existing network and culture and becoming a node for that, then and we keep it to the idea of a network city that's not so like politically threatening to establishment, then we can focus more on expansion of culture and than political clout.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree.
So,
totally agree.
It's an interesting idea that we can tap into that and yeah, play with that with the business model and seeding of the new location.
Totally right. I shared like where there's like the right now, there's the next steps, and then there's like the long-term goal. We definitely see some long-term goal in as we grow this network of people starting, right, the term we're fond of, which is regenerative neighborhoods. People who are living in alignment with both nature and each other and themselves to help the planet grow in a healthier way and to help the individuals grow in a healthier way, right? As we grow this network of projects like this that start succeeding more and more and that pool grows, that would definitely be the track that we would like to be a part of. Helping these communities build a bond, grow a network together where now the individuals can benefit from each other's work. through simple things like, oh, you have a house in Portugal, I have a house in Costa Rica. Why don't we do a house swap? And you can stay there for a few months and I can stay at your place for a few months. And potentially even saying, okay, well, now that it's easy to create money through crypto, okay, cool. How about we have this currency that we use at our community and you guys use it at your community, and we can actually exchange value in that way. Maybe your house is a 4-bedroom and I only have a 2-bedroom. Cool. I'm going to use your house, and the difference you can give me in these tokens that I can use to purchase food at your community, for example. Things like this. This is where that journey will eventually be going. Once we have what we understand to be the most important thing is more pilots in the system, right? More projects that actually are thriving neighborhoods of infrastructure and communities of individuals.
Right now, it's already happening. There's a couple of projects that are creating different locations in different places, and so it's definitely easier when you have one vision holder that creates a network, because it's easier to connect them. There's already a sense of familiarity and alignment in values, and possibly using the same systems. It's more complex when you want to connect projects after they've been established by a cryptocurrency, by a governance model, and just serving as some form of a familiarity for community members that want to be jumping from project to project. But even Ecovia, the project that Nicole is staying at right now, has like 3 locations, one in Costa Rica, 2 in Costa Rica, and I think there's like 1 other location. And there are a couple other projects that are either in the books and created one pilot one and are already planning different ones. Like Vitalia will be doing that. Honduras is just the first location, and then they're looking for other ones. So there definitely will be some membership model involved in that. Right now, for that, on the Tribes platform, when it's a network, we create a group for a project, and then all of the specific land projects in different locations have their own profile page. This is how it's functioning. I can see moving forward as more projects like that are popping up, and also as we're developing this network structure, that could take a little bit of a different shape. But yeah, I find that exciting. My personal desire is to live in a network of places. I don't really want to ground in one location for 5 years. I would rather spend 4 months in Europe and then maybe spend 3 months in South America, and so on and so on. So I would like to have a sense of familiarity in between these places, kind of know what I'm expecting and what kind of people I can find there and what kind of amenities, but with a different climate and maybe with a little bit of a different intention.
Yeah, I think the closest analogy to that is like when you go to a McDonald's in one city and then you go to a McDonald's in probably another country, right? Like you, or a Starbucks or a Barnes and Noble.
McDonald's.
Right. Like what they do right? Like these corporations have taken over the world because they do certain things right. And so one of the things they do right is when you go, you feel a very similar experience. And as humans, feeling that sense of familiarity goes a long way for our sense of safety and our sense of comfort. And this is one of the goals that we start building out on with like principles and values, right? If we know that we go to one place and this place is also about nonviolent communication, and that they have ecological standards that match our desires, it makes it much easier for us to feel at home and to feel like this is home for us and safety. So this is kind of how this will start snowballing with the baseline, which is the first section, which we're about to go into, which is values. Okay, so once we've established what the vision holder wants to do, short-term or long-term, I put in like the big takeaways that in our experience, the projects that have both available grow faster because they have both the community members holding the torch with the flag in the ground that live there permanently, and they have accommodation available for others to come and explore and imagine themselves and experience themselves in the community. this leads to a higher turnover, rather a higher conversion rate, where people that visit end up wanting to buy land there because they get to experience it.
Yeah, it's a great recruitment strategy. Also for the key roles that you need in your community, let them come in and experience, and then see which of the people that were staying are a potential to stay long term and maybe take on some bigger responsibilities in your community.
So when projects are in this phase, right, and they're starting out, it's really important for them to, in as normalized as a language, share with individuals what phase their project is currently on, right? Everyone has different timelines. Some people have a family and they're ready to get to a place and move into a house. Other people have a little more, let's say, time and space to build and design. So these questions down here kind of give you that in like a 5-tier breakdown, right? Is it someone that has an idea with a plan, but they have no land yet, right? This is the first round where someone has like some idea. It can even be written down on a napkin, like the base idea, but they have something written out of a community they intend, but they have no land yet. So this is just the idea phase. We'll be creating a separate section on the Tribes platform for projects that are doing this. I have an idea, but I have nothing else yet. And here's my plan. We're going to create like a separate section of neighborhoods to differentiate those two kinds of projects in this initial phase. The next phase, once you have land, is okay, or you have a plan, it's okay, I have now acquired land, but I have no construction on my land yet. Like maybe I have a few roads, or maybe even no roads at all. But I have land and I have a plan, right? It's one more level of commitment that some people that I've heard won't even invest any energy into projects that don't have land yet, right? Which is why some people rush to buy land. Sometimes not the best model yet. It all depends on the situation you're working with, but it's good to identify it. The third level is, okay, we have an idea with a plan, we have land, and we've started construction, but it's not open for members to live or use yet, meaning there's no housing yet, right? A lot of places will put in roads. Some projects we see start building amenities on site, right? They build a big shala for events, or they build like a barbecue area and a pool we've seen before they build housing. So people can go and see the project. And this is kind of the encouragement of these projects to say, okay, well, look at all these amenities. All you have to do now is buy land and build a home to come be here. But this is still a pretty far jump. It's a pretty high like barrier of entry for someone to be like, wow, I have to like invest a lot of money and a lot of time and effort to be there. Which is why one of our big takeaways that is on the list is create early stage housing. Give people, hey Lay, what's up? Give people an opportunity to sample the community and be there before they have to commit to buying land and investing into like structures. So that brings us to the fourth option, which is, okay, we are under construction and we're open for members to live and use and start living there. So this is now a more comfortable space. And even communities that only have spaces cleared out for tents and like simple domes and yurts are a lot of steps ahead of the other projects that don't have anywhere for people to stay. You know, a Mother Tree, for example, is now building their first home, which will take them a long way in having someone on site and giving people the opportunity to live there. And then the final one is like the community is fully established. There are people living here, we're operating like a community. And so this kind of normalized language helps people understand what they're stepping into when doing most of the research, which happens online, hundreds of thousands of miles away from your potential community. So this is important to help help guide your vision holder to where they really are and to be transparent about the current phase of their project. Okay, any questions about that one? Any thoughts, any suggestions? Okay, cool. Okay, the next couple of questions are pretty much based on that land project, like what is the name of your neighborhood, the country, the state, the city, where on the map is it, how big is your land, and your timeline. We'll take a minute on timeline. You can see you can click into timeline and go to the Alchemy Guide. 3 important points that you want to always ask your vision holder to remember and to write down is the year you started planning your community, the year that you started building in your community, and the year that people started moving into your community. These are 3 big ones that time and time again, people ask us like, oh, do you know when they started planning, when they started building, and when people started moving in?
Yeah, really important metric to let people know how fast the project is progressing. I would like to know if it took 10 years for you to build the first house, then it probably will take you another 5 years to build the amenities that are really important for me. So maybe this is not a high priority project for me. But if I see you moving forward with the build out and you're like really motivated and it's going good, then it's a higher potential project.
Right, so that's a very important one to make sure you take down those notes and that this information is shared, right? Before we created the Tribes platform, it was like, okay, make sure you have this on a doc and you share this on your one-pager or on your deck when you're sharing with others about your project. This is why we created the Tribes platform, so the important information for the projects that we see people always requesting is easily shared and presented to individuals interested in your project.
Just quickly to Laila, hi Laila, nice to see you. We are going through the agent workbook. I don't know if you have yours. I think I saw it in the drive. So feel free to fill it in for your dream community or maybe the project that you're interested in working with. So we're kind of synthesizing all of the information that we soaked in during the 11 calls and going through the Miro, through the interactive exercises to a more tangible version of that, which is just answering the questions with the help of the Community Alchemy Guide.
Yeah, the big takeaway was that this first introduction course is to go through all of the important facts that a community project should consider and plan and be sharing with the public to increase the number of people that are interested in the project, being comfortable and feeling safe to take further steps in getting involved with your project. At the end, right, Nicole did a bit of a research on vision holders with projects and what they all needed the most help with. And the biggest piece for everyone was we need more aligned individuals to join our community. So by sharing these key pieces of information, we're going through all the questions in the workbook today to review our holistic ecosystem. We are highlighting the questions that are key and making sure everyone that has maybe a few questions or wants a little more follow-up on each of these things can ask, leave some notes. In further weeks, we'll be doing like one-on-ones as people answer their questions in their workbook for their dream community to probe a little bit and ask like, okay, how do you help me answer this question? And that'll give us like a validation that, okay, what we covered, you're familiar with, you know how to guide a vision holder through these questions, and you know where to find resources to help answer those questions. Okay, so that was question 0. Now, we enter section 1, which is honing your vision. We align on how this is the foundation of a community, right? This helps define the intention or the mission. Why are we doing this and why are we building this community? Here we share a few of the main ones that we've been seeing in the space. We added longevity, as this is the project that we're working on at the moment, and there'll be a trend in this in the next coming years. So does anyone have any questions about like helping a vision holder dig into their intention, their big why?
These 2 questions
is this the
about,
most fun part?
Yeah, I think so, depending on what you consider fun. But yeah, this is definitely the core, the main pillar of the community. And so strong mission statement projects have a high potential because they bring in a motivated group of people to work on that project. So I think it's really important to define it. That's why we broke it down into 2 questions. One is to help potential community members to understand your project high level without you sharing your vision document, maybe 20% of people will read it as a whole thing. It's kind of like a tagging system for people to find your project easier if they're really focused on, for example, entrepreneurship. They will look for that and see only the projects that are developing
So like
this type of mission.
one takeaway from this for sure is sometimes people want to go really broad, so they capture a lot of people and more people, they think more people can be interested. At the same time, having something really niche, really like locked in and focused creates more of like your, let's say, die-hard commitment community members, where they realize, wow, this is so speaking to me directly that I can see myself really being there and focusing on these things. There's a balance between the two things, right? Most communities will do most of these things. Encouraging your vision holder to focus on one or two of these specifically and designing for that specific demographic really helps with capturing and bringing in the initial pioneer community. The people that are like, wow, that's so unique. I probably won't find that anywhere else. I definitely want to learn more about them and how they're developing this space that I'm acutely interested in.
Right, where I, on average, can meet around 1% of people on a regular day that are interested in that topic. I can go into that place and meet 95% of people that have an understanding of that field, and I can have a elaborate conversation about which we can see here in the longevity space. People came specifically to talk to other people about biotech projects. So this is really exciting and really cool. So yeah, a big takeaway, what Oscar said, try to put the intention in 2 sentences, 3 sentences. I see it over and over on the website of regenerative neighborhoods, that they go on and on about, what the project is about, and it's really valuable, and maybe it can be a tab of like a vision tab. But you really want to hook people by 1 or 2 sentences so they understand clearly what you're doing, rather than try to synthesize a block of text on your website.
Right, and so this is a big one that we can always help vision holders with, to just fine tune who is their like key person that they would imagine walking into this community and speaking to them first. And then from there, the periphery things that will be added.
Right. For example, for the community in Tulum, we're specifically looking for entrepreneurs because the intention is to create businesses in this land project and support their process and at the same time serve some sustainable business model revenue stream for the community itself. So calling in these people,
right, even more specific than that, just more than just general entrepreneurs. It's entrepreneurs that are interested in this like holistic healing space, in the space of events, and also environmental topics, right? Our focus of that, instead of just we care about the environment, is we care about the environment and want to focus on helping other regenerative neighborhoods grow. So you'll see the messaging for that coming up in the next few weeks as we start sharing more about the residency. People interested in this space of what Tulum is really about, which is, like healing and this journey, as well as the focus piece of we are here to learn how to create community and help other communities, because there's a high density of projects in that region to establish themselves and grow. Okay, cool. So the other 2 questions are more like defining questions of the of this high level intention. Another really good one, just how we described up here, like say that again. Okay. Yeah, just like we described the timeline here, like when did you start planning? When did you start building? When did you move in? It's important for vision holders to imagine their goal at a long pace, right? Like 1 year from now, where are you? 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, where do you see the community? This is also a question we get a lot of like, oh, I see where they are now. Where do they want to be in 10 years from now? And so this also helps people be like, feel more safe in saying, okay, I see where they are now, and I see that the direction they're going in is a direction I'm interested in committing a life to, and effort and energy into. So all important questions. Make sure as you guys go through your exercise and your workbook that you fill these in. Okay, cool.
Maybe let's take a little bio break. It's 12. So let's take a 5-minute break. Let's see each other at 12:18.
Okay, bye break.
Beautiful. See you then.
See you guys. Hello, welcome back.
Thank God I was on mute because I just started singing an old rap song in my brain and you like scared me.
Yeah, I saw you moving your lips. Like, oh, it's Lila communicating with us.
Get low, get low, get low.
How are you feeling, Layla?
Good. I just came from a 2-hour training session that I was doing, but I made people cry, which is my life's goal. So I would say it's been a brilliant day.
Oh, wow, congratulations. What was it like emotions?
No, the opposite. It's a training for for people that want to be sustainability professionals or small businesses that they are their own in the UK. And we partnered with the university. So I did 2 trainings on supply chain, carbon calculation, like very deep technical complex things. And then I thought I would end it with doing some mindfulness activities, and kind of bringing it back to the human, the relationship, the community, the bringing it together. And I made 3 people cry, which to me means I did the session well.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's beautiful.
I know combo doesn't work once you're at backstage.
Vivian, I don't know if you said something or, okay.
Yeah, Vivi is in the Colombian restaurant.
Okay.
Hi,
So yeah,
Vivi.
sorry for being late an hour, but I was.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. You just shared your accomplishment. It's forgiven. It's forgiven. Okay, you guys, let's dive in. So we stopped on the long-term goals. It's really important to list. It's tied into the timeline, which the timeline is a little bit more specific about something that actually happened already, and then the plans for the future, which is also really important for potential community members and partners to understand where you're going with your project. And it's encapsulating the mission statement and the intention in that. So the second section that we went through is recruit your ideal members. This is key. Nicole made a survey that she sent to different regenerative neighborhoods, and the number one support they need and kind of the bottleneck in the growth of the community is that they don't have enough community members on site. So this is a really important one. We talked a little bit about the strategies on how to recruit your ideal members and the demographics that you're seeking. So the first question is, how many people are living in your neighborhood full time? And here you count yourself and others that are living at the moment, right? Like it would be important for me to understand if I will be living with 50 people or maybe just 3 people.
Right, and then differentiating between people living there full time and people that are part of the community, as in landowners or investors in some way, but aren't on site full time. You know, that are intending to build a house and be there for certain months out of the year. It's good to differentiate those two. That's one we added on later on. Also the demographics, how many adults, children, women, men, short-term residents, long-term residents, non-binary we have in there as well, you know. So identifying who are the people that you will be committing to. This is all key information that needs to be shared when people are making a decision on how eager they are or how fast they can move with joining your And we're back, you guys. We're back.
Okay, our
Yeah, our internet's been like a little bit in and out these last couple of days. Island life. We're back. And so yeah, what are the key roles? We have one of the sample org charts, the kind of general one that we've established in the Alchemy guide. You can click into it.
Yeah, remember that you can, from the agent workbook, for most of the questions, you can see resources in the Alchemy guide. Yeah, we have the org chart in here.
Right, and this is what this org chart looks like. Again, identifying the important departments of the community. What are the responsibilities that need to happen in each of those departments, and identifying who the people are that will be holding those tasks on. In the perfect world, you have one person for each of these positions. In the actual world, one person ends up doing multiple of these roles until you find the right people to take part and collaborate and contribute to this community.
Right. For the experience in Tulum, we're doing the same thing. We're listing the key roles that we're looking for, and then the
I don't
responsibilities.
think you're sharing the screen.
Yeah, I don't think either. Okay, anyway.
Click share.
You are sharing your screen, yeah?
Yeah, do you see the Tulum
You're
community?
Oh, like the doc, the Google Doc? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You can click here, look.
We see your mouse moving as well, so.
You can say tab, look, you can do in Zoom, you can go, where's your Zoom?
Yeah, it just kind of disappears.
Here.
Yeah, you can click here.
Oh, it's because you
Click
have it
here, yeah.
inlaid. Click where? Oh, here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say new share. New share.
Can you share, if you
Yes,
share
here.
tab instead? Can you do the option of tab? Okay. Yeah, so like here in the deck that we were putting together for the Tulum experience, one of the pages is like, what are the roles that we're seeking support with in this moment? And what are their responsibilities and the kind of like spaces that they will be holding. This is an example of that, right? And so it's cool that we get to share with you guys our work here with Vitalia over these last couple of weeks. And then also what it looks like starting it from scratch, right? For the experience in Tulum, as it's like evolving and starting to go through. All right, let's keep going with the, where were we?
Yeah, here. Yeah, so we stop at the org chart and then we can just, yeah, keep going. So this is the high level org chart for the permanent community. Obviously, it will vary based on your business models and the intention of your community.
And so once you've identified what those roles are and what's important, it's really important to identify how we will be screening people, what the requirements for them to join the community are, and then how will we onboard them, right? This is one of the most important ones. It's very easy that we, from living in a place, know how everything works, but imagine someone new arriving and not knowing anything. Having a good onboarding process makes it much easier for people to slide into the mix and start bringing value to the project as soon as possible. This is one of the biggest things that we can help projects with during this journey of holding space for people that are proactive and want to be participating in the creation of your community, to have clear like rails and boundaries on how they can do that and who they can talk to about it. Okay, this brings us to section 3, which is the group agreements and governance. This is, again, right, each one of these sections is a whole course in itself. The things that we discussed during our time was like the community agreements, the conflict resolution methods, the governance models, and the legal structures of our community. These are all super important pieces. We have links directly to the Alchemy Guide where you can look in and dig in a little bit more. You have the Miro board as well to review some of the exercises that we did in that space. Does anyone have questions about this section? Anything that, you know, maybe, oh, I'd like to know a little more about this, or, oh, okay. I don't even know where to start with this topic or with this question. Hopefully the Alchemy Guide gives you a little bit of like a breadcrumb trail to like find your way into it and define some of those for yourselves. I would recommend that you guys have at least 1 or 2 or 3 options that you are thinking about for each one of these questions for your own agent workbook.
I was just thinking, Oscar, because I remember you guys talking about examples as well of like contracts and those kind of things. Is that also just the link in the alchemy book, alchemy guide that I can also find?
Yeah, I don't think we have them. Let's look into that. I don't think we have example agreements listed in the alchemy guide. We have agreements that we created with a vision holder in one of the communities that we stayed in. We can post it in there. That's a good reminder. Not gonna do that now, although that's
There's a few links to like Oroville's legal agreements and to Tamara's legal agreements, right? Some of like the old school ones. I know we have one for Dancing Rabbit somewhere. I think you can find some examples of legal in the remember your other resource is the tribes platform.
Right.
In the Hive groups, there's individual groups for each one of these topics where we are uploading, or we have uploaded a drive of things we've been collecting over the years into there to give people some examples and some use cases. I think a big breakthrough since we started this guide is ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's ability to you can even put in a country and it'll give you a baseline of what a reasonable agreement or a reasonable series of questions should be, right? Not always 100% accurate, but a good starting point as well, right? Another source of information and knowledge that can help you without needing to start from scratch and starting from zero, right? Every country is different. Every place has its own rules and regulations and verbiage that they use, but it can give you a good starting point to at least make like some general agreements or general like legal statements about a topic.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so that's section 3. All right, so moving on to section 4. So now that we have defined our idea, figured out who can be involved and how we can get these people involved, we move to the next section, which is our business model for our community.
And a little bit of a tip on how to fill in the workbook, right? Because we haven't really done that together. When you answer the questions, they are pretty specific, and so we don't really want the answers to be 1 page long unless you really want them to be and the vision holder wants them to be. But it's important to add details about specific answers, right? So for example, the governance model, if you have democracy, you can check it, and underneath democracy add notes about the structure, right? So I don't know, we have a council, or we have voting every 6 months, for example, anything that is important for your governance structure, and the same goes for all of the other questions that you have there. So it's not only checking in the box, but also expanding on that a little bit, which you can see and how the question is structured. Yeah, go on. Just wanted to add that note.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so once we've designed, right, our idea, who's going to be involved, how do we get people involved, we go to now essentially the abundance source of our community, right? Every project with a strong mission and intention, with a little bit of like creativity and entrepreneurial, let's say, energy and thought, we can design ways to create value that when people come to our community as guests or as residents, we can generate revenue, right? Every project needs money to pay the bills, to buy things, to fix things. So projects that are one-dimensional in their business model, like, oh, we just sell land and that's how we make money. Eventually that pot is going to run out because you're going to sell all the land. So you're going to have to come up with a business model anyways. Or, oh, we're a farm and we sell produce. Great, awesome one. At the same time, you could have an off season, or like bugs could attack your crops, and this would put you in a pinch, you know, in a lot of stress. There's always lots of ways to be creative, and this becomes a little bit of like a business consulting strategy with vision builders on where do you see opportunities. Like one way I always like to look at it is, what do you have in abundance? What do you have a lot of? You know, some people have tons of wood, so they can create products out of wood. Other projects have tons of land and beautiful spaces that they can do tours or hikes or things like this in, right? In Tulum, the niche there is like holistic healing and this genre of like finding yourself, connecting with yourself, and healing and growth. So in places like Tulum, we are definitely very open to engaging with entrepreneurs that like to share their modalities for their personal growth journey, which is what a healer or a coach always is, sharing the tricks in their playbook that help them live a fulfilling life. Another example of a business model that could happen, coaching or any kind of training, right? Dance training to help people be more comfortable in their bodies, or environmental training to show people how to live, design more aligned with nature. Okay, so in this question, we also ask things like, how will you be receiving funds from the people participating, right? Is it something like monthly dues? Will people be expected to share expenses? Will people making income in the community be expected to share some with the community as they're using all of the shared amenities? These are all questions that need to be thought of, because as people join the community, they always ask, oh, if I'm hosting a retreat in my space and I want to use the shared palapa, what percentage of that is shared with the community, or so forth and so on. So all important topics to question and to help the vision holder go through that thought process, right? When a vision holder, again, remember the situation they're in. They are buying land, raising money, finding people, building stuff. It's very easy that some of this stuff goes unexplored and not thought of. Just close it.
That looks great. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so those are those main topics. If you have any questions, feel free again, just popcorn style, ask a question, highlight something and leave a question in the notes on the side. All of it is useful, as this guide and this agent workbook will continue to evolve as we meet more projects and start making this system as structured and normalized as possible, even with this industry where everything is pretty unique and custom to the places that are being built. Okay, other topics that we share here are like, right, with real estate, are lots for sale, or will they be for rental only, right? Kind of goes along with the first question of, are you a regenerative neighborhood or a regenerative neighborhood experience? How can people buy into the project, right? This is going on the first business model that most of these communities usually implement, which is we have land, a lot of land, and we're going to sell some of this land off so we can recover some of this money and build some amenities and build some of the things that we need. So can people buy the land flat out? Can they buy it with other people? Can they own it collectively as being a shareholder of the company that owns the land, or will they have their own title for the land? Again, a lot more details on this. You can look in the Alchemy guide. We need to put a link. There's a specific section we shared for this.
Right, and another link that I want to share here, as you guys are connecting with vision holders, if they offer land for sale, we have a template to put that into an investment one-pager that can be shared among other projects in our portfolio. And so this is also a good revenue stream for agents to be generating money from real estate sales. This is our primary business model. And so if you encounter a project that is looking for community members and they're selling either properties or pieces of land, you can ask them more specific questions and we can create an investment one-pager for them. And we have a program for that for real estate agents that could be you. So you can be getting a portion of the commission for being the connecting point between the community and our ecosystem.
Right, a lot of our work comes in making the sales funnel more effective for these projects, right? Like sharing what they do clearly, and then having giving them support in like finding the people out there, because this is the space that we're in chats and in different conversations, and helping them enter the funnel of, I'm interested, okay, I'm considering investing, and then how do I invest and where does this process happen? The other one to real estate, obviously, is hospitality, another one of the major businesses. So we asked some specific questions, right? Like, what are the rental models they offer? Like day to day, month to month, week to week, only by the year. Every community is different. And then how many spaces do they have? And what amenities do they offer, right? This is what people always ask. What spaces are available for me to stay in? How long can I rent or stay at? And what is available on site for this place? Okay, cool. All right, section 5, which is acquiring the best land. This section is, right, if you don't have land yet, you can kind of make your dream board about this topic and then look for land accordingly. The reality is most people find a really great opportunity of land and they make their move and then make things fit according to what that land is. One of the most important things is the zoning piece. I'm going to add this real quick to the notes that are key, right? Like understand the zoning of your community, of the land that you're getting. So here, starting the design, building, let me add this here. Understand the zoning of your land. So, right. So one of the community members that we have connected with that will be joining us in Tulum, invested into with some friends a property in Hawaii. They had a big central house and they built small houses around it as cabanas to host guests and people wanting to live in the community. Fast forward 3 years and them growing and succeeding and growing the community, the neighbors started realizing there was a lot of traffic on their street and started getting annoyed with this. So they actually reported the project to the government officials that check on zoning, and they came and realized, hey, why do you have multiple structures here where people can live when this is zoned as a single family house lot, even though it was a big 10 hectare lot. So with the fines that accrued, they've pretty much had to shut the community down and sell the property. So 3 years of work and a thriving community pretty much totally stopped by legal zoning situation where they're like, oh, no one really ever checks, but eventually somebody might. And this is what's led him to closing the community. They're selling the land now. It's up for sale. And the guy's moving to Tulum to find community. He's going to be working with Mother Tree as a construction manager because that's some of the experience he has. And he's going to be living on site with us because he wants to continue to foster a sense of community. So I feel for him. At the same time, I'm excited to have someone with his experience and energy for community and to be joining us in Tulum. But this is a make or break, literally. You got to pay taxes and you can't play with the government on stuff like that. Definitely something to really prioritize and consider in that journey. Okay, so that's kind of the main topics for land. Legal status, yeah, how do you own the land as well, right? Like in Mexico, there's land that is indigenous land. You need to consider what the legal repercussions and opportunities in those situations are. Okay, 6, strategize your funding and marketing. Key in this journey, right? Telling the story of what you do clearly, and from this, creating a compelling message that leads to people wanting to share their financial resources with your project or your vision holders project to get them across the finish line of designing, building, and bringing people in and holding the sense of community while the community starts generating its own revenue. We shared some basic stuff, which is where you want to start with your vision holder, where are you sharing your information? We shared the main platforms here, websites, Instagram, social media, photos in different places, and how are you intending to collect money, right? Are you a Bitcoin millionaire and you're paying for all of it yourself? Are you going to be taking loans from a bank? Friends and family? Are you going to be generating revenue or collecting from all the residents, patrons, right? People who believe in it and want to donate some money because they get to come and stay at the amenities for a few days, or they do pre-sales is one that I really like, right? People investing in their accommodation ahead of time before it's built. We'll be testing this strategy at the Tulum community. there's still space to build another 5 cabanas. If we have 5 more spaces for 5 more people, it makes it much easier to pay the bills and cover costs and generate revenue. So we will be creating a marketing campaign to buy these really beautiful early stage housing glamping tents that we stayed in Mexico over the summer, last summer, to raise the money to buy them and put them in place. And people will essentially pay like 50% of their rent for the month or for the week, and pay for it ahead of time so we can get the money to buy the tents, and then they'll come and stay in the tents. So I mean, that one pre-sales, that's a really good one. It's like the whole Kickstarter model, right? Like, oh, I haven't built this thing yet, but if you help fund it, you get it for a discount early as an early investor.
So you're pre-selling time?
Yeah, we're gonna pre-sell time. We're gonna pre-sell nights, weeks, and months stay at the community at this space that we haven't built yet. We have the manufacturer and we have the people to install it. We just need the $8,000 it costs to get all the stuff and set up all the area. You can purchase ahead of time and lock in your space early. Okay, so that's strategized funding and marketing. Right, again, this is a whole thing in itself. Storytelling, who you're speaking to. The Alchemy Guide has a pretty good breakdown of all of that, so make sure you guys go through it. This is one of the most important things people need help with. Right, posting on Instagram once a week isn't enough. There's little things you can do, like connecting your Instagram to your Facebook and then reposting on your LinkedIn to make the most of the content you are creating. This is something that I pretty much built most of my business journeys on, is good storytelling through social media, and now exploring different channels to get different audiences for things. Okay, section 7, master planning your systems, right? Focusing on sustainable systems. I love this section. We spent a lot, I went pretty deep on some of these things because I like just enjoy it, and like that little engineering piece of like building these things. Also the doomsday prepper in me, the draw to build these communities is a bit of this, right? Like I want to know where my water, food, and energy are coming from. And this gives me a level of safety that I find myself not finding anymore in cities and in different places. So it's an important question to bring up to your vision holder when you're talking to them, right? Like, what do they want? What do they really value? Some people value it much more than others. Others are just like, oh, I'm happy being on the grid. I know that there's a water delivery place that can bring me fresh water. In the spaces that we've been exploring, this is one of the top 5 questions that gets asked. Oh, where does their water come from? Where are they getting their food from? You know, are they growing their own food? Do they have a local network of food providers that they purchase from? And what does that look like? And that, right, creating a garden and a food forest is a long-term endeavor, and takes a lot of practice. Much easier that we can do as agents is help them with the networking piece of finding the local farms, finding the local communities, and seeing what kind of like exchange system can be created with these projects in the area, and creating a strong local network. That's one of the also big takeaways in this journey, right? Is create a strong local network. I've added it once, I'm going to add it again here.
You think it's building? Yeah.
Okay, water systems, waste. Why we identify the difference between waste and freshwater systems, and how much of the land we will use, and how to kind of like calculate what our development level looks like. Right, in this, again, sustainable space. A lot of people don't want to move out of a concrete box city and move into a smaller concrete box in the jungle. So they're interested in people preserving nature and what percentage of the land will be developed versus what will be natural, and this whole strategy. Right, food systems, what are you growing versus what are you actually networked to receive, source, and use at your community locally. Energy, right? The most recognized one is solar. I'm like reading a lot about like a lot of innovations in energy. I think the next like quantum leap in humanity will be like energy sources that create energy at almost like nominal cost, almost free. You know, like hydrogen energy sources here in Roatan, they're working on like micro nuclear plants that can provide energy for like 100 or 200 households in the size of a tool shed, using like nuclear sources, which is pretty innovative and kind of crazy and awesome. So we're definitely on the verge of this.
It has to be, with the technology progressing as fast as it is right now. We're using so much energy to process all of that. The AI technology uses so much that part of the resources need to go to inventing these types of technologies to support growth of these systems, for sure.
Right. Like crypto uses a ton of energy to be our own bank. One AI search uses like between 10 to 50x the energy that one Google search uses. So we're just like consuming and consuming and consuming, and energy becomes this bottleneck at some point that we really need to figure out. Okay, so that was sustainable systems. How are we doing? How's everyone feeling? I know we're like blowing through these things. Again, this was like the point of this was to review and get you guys into your workbook and start thinking about what are the answers you want to put, right? And some of them that are like select, like this one, right? Like housing status. I invite you guys in a line underneath on your personal workbooks to add notes of like your thought process behind it. When we sit with you guys one-on-one, we're going to be asking you about, okay, how did you get to this question? How did you get to this answer for your community and why? Because this is something that you will be doing with your vision holders as you're going through these exercises, right? They will be kind of going through their thought process, which is going to be similar, maybe different to your thought process, but going through it in your own like mind will help you get more into the head of your vision holder and help guide their thought process into, at the very least, considering these topics. Even if you leave them with a big question mark at the end, at least now they know that they don't know, right? The biggest threat in this journey is not knowing what you don't know, because it'll hit you up from the side like a truck at some point, like with the zoning thing. Okay, so section 8. Building your neighborhoods. This is where all of the planning and all of the design, the tire hits the asphalt here, and we're starting with our journey to create our home. Number one is early stage housing. That's been the biggest takeaway, and I would say the biggest metric of success for projects that we've visited that are actually making it. Even the ones with early stage housing struggle sometimes, but at the very least, they're struggling with people there, right? Each human that steps into your place and can stay there and make the experience of being there is a whole world of effort and connections and network and other individuals that could come from them spending time there. So everything we want to do is to create housing in our place as simple as possible, as efficient as possible, and starting out sometimes as cheap as possible, right? Setting up simple domes, simple yurts that cost under $10,000 to have like a functional living situation for people.
Yeah, and definitely involving it in your business plan and the goals that you have when you start your process of creating a regenerative neighborhood is to involve the early stage housing. It doesn't have to be cheap. Maybe this will be one of your first major investments, right? Again, seeing the success case here at Vitalia, they don't really have their own housing, but being able to bring people in and a number of 150, 200 people for the experience and then extend it for the ones that are interested in building something permanent here is super valuable. You cannot really have that going from a digital community straight to living somewhere permanently. You have to offer the transition town to the ones that are not fully decided, and kind of shape that as people go through the space and help you design it best for their needs and for your own needs. So the model that they use here is using a retreat space, a resort space that is already on site, and that is in a close distance to the district that they will be building on. And so this is kind of a good solution for you to maybe postpone a little bit the build out of your early stage housing, at the same time still gives you the benefit of hosting people near your location or at your location.
Yeah, like part of the success in Costa Rica is because there's a high density of projects, right? Like someone will buy a little piece of a mountain to build their community, and on the next road, there's already a formed community with some housing. I've seen a lot of synergy happening where this group that only has land works with the neighboring community and actually rents some of their units early to allow people to come and visit and come onto their land and see what that looks like. And they create partnerships. So like a community of communities is what's forming. The last time we were in Costa Rica in an area called Diamante Valley, there's just literally every street that you go to, you see little arrows of like this community and that community and this community over here. And they have a pretty cool network of support for each other. Yeah, what's up, Lila?
That's so cool, because that's what I've been working here from a corporate UN thing, is how do we create an ecosystem of ecosystems?
Right.
So that was even going to be one of my questions, because a lot of this can seem very daunting to somebody that's starting something. So
Totally.
how can they best establish themselves within an ecosystem that exists, or see themselves becoming part of that ecosystem, so they don't necessarily have to do everything themselves? I was thinking about that kitchen example before, right? So maybe there's somewhere next door that has an oven, and that every Friday we could have pizza together, you know? A very basic example, but I wonder if you have any more technical examples from a water, food, waste systems perspective in that direction.
Yeah, food definitely. Right. A big one, especially in really like lush landscapes, is a lot of people are growing their own food. And when you grow food, you realize like, oh man, we have like 50 pounds of bananas. What are we going to do with these bananas? And a lot of the time it goes to waste, sadly. Having a strong local network, people get to support each other in that journey, you know, and like they'll trade some bananas for the other person. Like, oh, we just had to clear a lot of land to do our initial structures, and we have a lot of wood that we could use for other stuff. So they start an exchange system of resources on site, which is really, really beautiful.
Right, you can use infrastructure. I hear some voices. I don't think it's any of you. Yeah, you can use infrastructure of your neighbors, and this can be the collaboration, as we see here at Vitalia. This is not really their infrastructure, and they kind of plug into already existing ecosystem. Another great example, based on the same project, is plugging into Prospera, that is a special economic zone that already has done a lot of great work in the legal structure field. And so you don't really have to go through that route yourself, which is a very complex one, and you need a team of lawyers in order to figure that out. They already have that layered figured out for them. So this is a great one. And I think, yeah, but just doing a research before you purchase land or consider land to buy is, okay, what kind of demographic can I find there? Like a good connection for them here is that there's a lot of young, capable people in Honduras that are in the crypto space. And so they're also feeding off of that demographic, involving local community, hiring local community, to develop their own ecosystem, plugging into something that's bigger already. So yeah, definitely a huge key. I'm happy that you put it on the list of tips. creating and developing local partnerships with people. I like the example of Cuyabe. What they want to create is a community of communities. So it's a big piece of land. It's almost 400 hectares. And so what they want to do is encourage vision holders to create their community on, for example, 10 hectares of land, and then have another vision holder with a different intention taking another 10 hectares of land. And so you kind of have that collaboration, and maybe 10 hectares is focused mostly on permaculture and food growth. And so this will provide food for other smaller ecosystems within that community, and maybe another one will have the intention of being an art community and will serve the entertainment part and different types of workshops to the community members to kind of like complete each other's ecosystem, because it's really challenging to involve all of these aspects in one community project.
Right. Yeah. So again, right.
Yeah,
Local
I
networks
have
are key.
I have some examples to share for like early stage community development, at least land development from my experience. So when we started, there was a local water spring, like a freshwater spring that the whole sort of region would use. It was free. There's a pump, or not even a pump. It just flows through pipe. So like that's one example of sharing a water resource, where there's a watering hole basically where people can go and fill up, and even a whole community could fill up to support their water resource before they have their own like well, for example.
Yep.
Also, yeah, the local farms, of course, for food. And I guess sharing for waste, you could easily share a composting facility, even if it's a simple one, so that multiple places can deal with their like human waste and kitchen scraps, basically put them all in one central spot.
A big sharing point as well is tools, right? Like sometimes someone will have like an excavator for digging, and someone else will have like a lot of hand tools that they can also share, and they can exchange this for like the person growing a ton of fruits or a ton of vegetables that they're going unused. And so this becomes a really beautiful network, like a global network, right? Local over global to empower your journey.
That's a really good point. We had one of our neighbors was like kind of a homesteader out in the bush, like a couple kilometers into the bush, and they had actually this was true for two different neighbors. They had basically a Kubota or a tractor or like a mini backhoe that they just owned. One of them owned a backhoe with like three of their neighbors, so they owned that, but they could share it. They came and drove it over to our place and helped us like clear the spot for our cabin. And
yeah, that's amazing. It's great to do that research before you move in somewhere, to have this support and know that there are going to be people that can help you. And moments when you need that, you probably will need that. My mom is an accountant, and she's creating an ecosystem of her own. So she's only taking clients that are key roles in her life. So she will have a dentist and a plumber and and a lawyer and just like one of the each key roles that you need in your life in the moments of distress. So I found it really interesting that she's like weaving her own ecosystem in her job. So like being really selective about the roles that you're bringing into your company. So yeah, that's another reflection on creating different forms of ecosystems in your life and looking for key roles and then like weaving your way into that. Okay, you guys, we're on section 9.
Yes. Okay, so section 9, right? Now this is living in your dream community and curating the community culture. This is the core of community. How do we live together? How do we operate together? How do we do all the things that allows us to human together effectively, right? And so this is a big portion of what we've been exploring in this journey, right? The buildings are easy. All of that stuff is just ones and zeros on a spreadsheet. The humans are the eternal variable. And reviewing this and iterating on this is so key. Everything from like, how do we connect as like our internal community to how do we deal with visitors that come and join us, or short-term guests and volunteers. Right, lifestyle practices, like do we eat together, do we not allow any things, or yes, invite certain things into the space. What is our education program looking like in our community? How do we communicate with each other? A lot of this gets figured out in the agreements and the processes of the communities. And a lot of it will happen as you're living in these communities and working in these communities. There's a ton of guides and books and awesome resources on this. One friend we met who started a conscious co-living. Was that the name of it?
Neema?
Berlin? Neema?
Yeah, conscious
co-living. She has a whole, like, her whole focus is just that piece. How do the humans live together effectively? So our venture is like to find these individuals who focus on that one piece and invite them into these communities to help develop these frameworks out for people more effectively in all of this. Okay, and then that brings us to section 10, right? Which is our section that we're doing now, which is reviewing everything regularly. In this section, we also have other stuff that we're currently building out a little bit more, right? Topics that I hadn't even focused on at the beginning as like a overly positive human. I never even thought about security, but more and more individuals into our space consider like, oh, well, how do we keep our place safe? You know, how do we manage people in times of scarcity, maybe coming and wanting to see that we have abundance of some things? How do we make a safe passage point for exchange or for sharing, or even for like guarding our loved ones and our valuables and our things like this? Technology, right? What technologies are we integrating into our community? This falls into the whole ecosystem piece. And again, the big one, how do we develop our local network? This is the biggest part of the ecosystem. The individuals around us that can support us in our journey. And then how do we manage the community effectively? How do we communicate with each other? How do we keep track of to-dos effectively? And how do we process all this stuff in the most effective manner possible? So your assignment, guys, we've now gone through all of the sections in detail. And now we've gone through the over the top of like, what are the questions that evolve from those sections? We will be doing one-on-one calls to essentially kind of like sign off on, okay, you guys did this, right? 24-hour course. You've been introduced to these topics. We're designing a cool kind of passport thing of like both representing the hours you're investing into learning these topics, and also physical and in-person events that you'll be joining and being a part of, even if it's remote. Like, let's say you're on site somewhere. Mike, what you're doing right now in this town in Canada for community culture. Viv, where you've been and the communities that you've seen, the time you've shared there, creating a log of those. Those will also be stamps in your passport that help people validate that, okay, I see what this person has done in their journey of communities, and oh, wow, you've done these things. That's exactly what I need help with, right? Positioning, helping you guys position yourselves as entrepreneurs in this space to have like a trustable track record through the things that you've done that we see are super valuable in this space for others building places. So we'll be doing one-on-one calls. We want to schedule them with you guys. In the next 2 weeks, we'll be wrapping up here. We'll be in Miami for about 10 days, and then we'll be in Tulum. So we're open to squeeze in 1 or 2 in these next couple of weeks. If you guys are ready with your workbook, take your workbook as like your dream community. Or if you have a project in mind that you'd like to run through the process, that would be really cool as well.
Yeah, ideally both, so you get familiar with that. I think the process of creating your dream community is a little bit different, and then operating with a already existing community will be a little bit different. So maybe having these 2 examples will be really valuable, but we can also go through the dream community one and just that. And I think most of you are planning to come to Tulum for the time that we talked about. We're going to be there and half of March and staying long term. So possibly we'll be activating the on-site training program for the agents in the Tulum Experience location to go through that in a more tangible way. Here in Vitalia, we created a wall with all of the steps, and we were hosting workshops around that, kind of like the mural board that we created for you guys. And so we're gonna be going through that process, looking at an actual example of a project that you see functioning and you have a chance to operate. So no pressure, but it will be a good opportunity for you to actually explore that in real life and activate the project.
Great. Okay, guys, I have to jump out. I'm jumping on another call. There's a pop-up city happening at the end of the year in the US. A bunch of community creators gathering, and they're now doing the forming process of like, here's the org chart and the people that we are looking for to share knowledge and stuff. We're gonna tune into that to see who we meet and what that's about. I'll be sharing updates with you guys, and if you guys are open to, I can invite you guys to this group as well, so you can see this pop-up city experience forming. Thank you guys for the time and all the love and energy you've put into it. Message us, feel free to ask questions. We're gonna be going a lot in the Telegram now, sharing updates of the process in Tulum. I consider you guys all co-creators, right? You all have the base knowledge now to ask the right questions, and this is the start of it. Go in your workbooks, fill in your dream community or a community of someone that you know that you want to work with, and we're gonna check in soon, you guys.
Let's take a photo.
Yes.
Wait.
You can crop it after.
Okay, nice. Okay, you guys have a beautiful day. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you all so much. I'm so
Thanks,
excited.
guys. Looking
Thank
forward
you
to
for this
talking
week.
again.
It was
Check in on the
awesome.
Telegram, say hi on the Telegram.
See you in Tulum.
Go on Tribes, there's new people on
ya.
Tribes, all asking really
I feel
interesting questions. A
FOMO.
new Canadian guy is in there, Mike. Looking to connect with other Canadians. So we'll be in touch, you guys. Get in the Telegram and we'll be going through there.
Amazing. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.